We are live. Welcome back to Getting Real. This is a show where we go beyond the curated posts and into what's actually true. And when it comes to building a life of freedom, joy, wealth, and alignment, I'm your host, Monique Hom. And on today's show, I'm really excited about our guest. This is a show that's going to speak to your soul, especially if you've ever felt like you've had to tone yourself down or play by someone else's rules to be successful. My guest today is the kind of woman who gives you permission to stop performing and start becoming. Dr. Liz Dobbins is a spiritual powerhouse. She's a multidimensional seer, coach, and the creator of The Holy Wild, a paradigm that invites women to reclaim their full feminine genius. And we are all about that at Real Estate Investor Goddesses. Through her retreats, sisterhood circles, and private coaching, she's helped hundreds of women come home to themselves and discover that their most aligned self is also their most powerful self. Today, we're talking about what it means to be radically authentic, spiritually aligned, and unapologetically magnetic, especially as women navigating business, money, and real estate. I'm so excited to have her. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. I'm really excited about our conversation. But let's start with this. What is the Holy Wild, and how does that paradigm help ambitious women, especially in spaces like real estate or entrepreneurship? How does it help them reclaim their power?
So I love this question because the Holy Wild was something that was transmitted to me straight from the quantum field during one of the events that I was hosting several years ago. And I had already been working with women for many years. I have worked with entrepreneurs, like mostly entrepreneurs, my entire career. And so we were at this retreat. I got this transmission, and basically it was this paradigm of all of the ways that women have this feminine genius coded into us that allows us to bring our unique greatness forward. Like the creatrix within and is like the centerpiece of that. So the Holy Wild is a paradigm. If you could imagine a circle with the entire circle being a spirituality circle. So everything inside of this encompasses the path of soul, encompasses the path of the spirit. And so one of those limbs is embodied emotionality. Every woman's emotions are her toolkit to be her compass, to know what is right for her, what is wrong for her, to allow her to go deeper into her processes, to allow her to go more expanded out into her greatest self. So the emotions are so important, embodied emotions. And one of the things that I teach is that a woman's body is her portal. It is a portal. It is not just the vessel that is carrying this, what I call the skin bag. You know, it's like, it's more than that. It's a portal to information. It's a portal to holy truth. It's a portal to shift things radically when we know our potent yes and our powerful no's. It's a body thing first when we're embodied, which is why embodied emotionality is one of the tenets of the Holy Wild paradigm. Another is radical authenticity. Authenticity it shape shifts the room. It influences all the invisibles around us. We know when we are in the presence of authenticity, and our soul only wants us to be authentic. And authentic women are usually the ones that have to break the rules of the culture, that have to define what is true for them and what is not true for them. And many times a Holy Wild woman is one that is pretty much blazing her own path. She's not following the herd. She is not doing it like everybody else. She knows that she can take information from around her, but most likely she's not going to do it like everybody else. Because she's used to asking these questions is that really true for me? Is that really true for me? Is that my authentic truth? Again, the body will tell her. The other part of this is working inside of sacred sensuality and sexuality. I believe that this piece is the creative life force that we are hardwired with. Our pleasure is a portal to teach us more about ourselves. Our sensuality and sexuality is the creative life force that can move mountains and shape realities, because it is a high level energy that communicates with the divine, that communicates with the quantum field. All energy rich states communicate with the field in a divine way. So when we are practicing using our sacred sensuality and our gifts in this way, we can start to shape reality. For example, I can't tell you how many times I have danced things to life, or I have sung things into reality, like using my creativity, which is part of the sacred sensuality. That's part of the path. If we think about what we really do, like when we let ourselves go free, we dance, we celebrate, we pray, our life force moves through us like this. It zigs, it zags, it goes back and forth. It is never a linear process to be inside of the holy, wild feminine. It's just not. So like as an entrepreneur, I'm going to give you this piece right here, is that you've got to allow yourself just to like move through it and do it your way. That is so important as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was in my 20s. I'm in my 50s now. So it's like long game here, but that is like, I remember when I used to try and distort myself and to try and do it like other people, it never worked and I would crash. So right here, I'm just going to invite you to keep allowing yourself to color outside the lines, feel into what's truly alive for you, because I know that we'll touch on this later, but there's a whole other world available when we decide to do it our holy, wild way. So the other piece, and then the other piece around the paradigm is the other, when on my chart, it's like a 4. It's like a cross and down. The other piece of it is recognizing that because we're spiritual beings, because our bodies are oracles, we are able to communicate with the invisibles. So from a scientific approach, you can look at it as the universe is made up of like 95% energy. So energy is invisible. Energy is your thoughts. Energy is emotions. Energy is your invisible, the state that you are residing in. It also has to do with using the invisibles that are like, say, coming from nature, coming from practices, coming from prayer, coming from meditation. You can't touch anything that happens inside of those spaces, but we know that we're moving energy around to shift it into matter. That's how it works. So inside of practicing, using these as regular practices, you start to live your life differently. You start to have a greater faith in what you're doing, because you're becoming masterful at just holding the belief and holding faith in the same direction. It's like belief and faith, belief and faith, belief and faith. It's like you're walking with that. When we start to walk with that, you will not be denied. You will not be denied. You can't.
I love that. So in this part of the 4 pillars I heard, so there's an embodied emotionality, a radical authenticity, a sacred sensuality and sexuality, and then a communication with the invisibles. Yes. And putting all of those together, I could see why you need belief and faith, because you're going literally into the wild, right? Into this like never before created, into this new. And then just having this belief in that, like what you know to be true for you, even though it might look completely cuckoo to other people, the Lulu, that's where you're meant to be. And in there, and in that like knowingness, that is where the goal is. That is where everything you want lies.
Well, here's the thing. I'm just going to drop over this really quick. We forget. Here's the thing. When you're in these practices, it feels so good because it's so natural. It is so natural for women to be using their bodies in this way and like being like in their spiritual selves. And particularly if you're in midlife. I'll talk about this in a minute. I have my doctorate's in chiropractic, so I have a ton of information around the body and neurological programming and all this kind of stuff. But midlife is a really, really specific portal into this, because when we start practicing these types of things, our ability to become the mystic, to become the interdimensional speaker heightens greatly. It's another conversation.
Yeah. So what is it about this midlife stage that makes it such a powerful portal for women, for truth, and transformation?
Oh my God, it's so incredible. And I wish I could give you the exact wiring of what happens. But during this time, our brains literally rewire. They
So
literally
menopause around that time. Okay.
Yep. And so remember that we are our hormones. We are only made up of our hormones. That's what influences our systems, right? The heaviest. And so during perimenopause and then menopause, your brain, literally all of those neurological pathways that were created to tend to everybody else around you, they literally go like this. They die off.
Wow.
They do. That's why all of a sudden you're kind of like, no, I'm not doing that. Not doing that. Nope, not doing that. I like this filter to like just stop doing things that are not aligned or that are overworking you or that are, that quote, if you're a mom or if you've been a caretaker, you know that you just get used to it. You're like, it's part of the game. And then all of a sudden, when you hit this age and all of those, they stop and all of those new neurological wirings happen, they go back into self. Self. And so a lot of women can go really numb during this phase because they don't have a mentor. They don't have mentorship that's showing them that thing to go inward and quiet is actually going deep into like the soul soil. And if we are not being shepherded somehow, books, mentors, groups, etc., many women will lose this opportunity and they will get stuck on the past. My kids have left. My life is halfway over. My career is blah, 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 right? And so they don't actually look at this as being like, let's go deep and then let's go really vast because this is time to go into your second act. It will be more spiritual. It will be more aligned. It will be bolder. It will be more of who you are if you allow it to be because of the wiring.
That's so powerful.
It is so powerful. I mean, for every woman that I know that's walking through this part of her life right now, beside of me, we're like, woohoo,
I love that because so many women are walking to this part of life and are not going woohoo. They're going, this is horrible. And I love that there's this invitation to like, no, this can be so magical and transformative and amazing, with the right processes, the right tools, the right.
Yep.
Okay. So you say what you want wants you. So for a woman who feels disconnected from her desires or like her dreams are too big, unrealistic, what would you say?
I would say this is a 911. This is a 911 because women must stay connected to their desires. It is a lifeline for us. We are dreamers. We are visionaries. We are way too much. And once we accept those three things as part of our signature, part of our personality, part of our truth, we don't stop. So if there's a woman in this audience that has disconnected from your desires, first of all, what I would recommend is to do an embodiment exercise. Find your sensuality because your sensuality is going to remind you of how much you actually want it all. Like the sensuous woman desires so much. She wants to experience so much. She might be the woman that just wants every sensory desire to be fulfilled. She wants the best food. She wants the best air on her skin. She wants the best view. Those are worthwhile. These are the things that feed our souls, right? So when we're disconnected from desire, we're actually disconnected from our highest self. Because when we fortify those parts of ourselves, it then carries out into every other area of our life. It influences because we're full. So a woman's path back home to herself, sensuality and sexuality. A lot of women at this point in their lives will be like, "Nah, I don't even care about that anymore. It's not important to me anymore." Sister, let me tell you, it is the thing that will bring you fully back to life. It is not for you to share unless you want to. It is yours. It is a creative life force that will shape your life in a different way if you learn how to use it, harness it, and follow its direction.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I often talk about, within my groups, like, which is not a very common thing you hear talked about in real estate investing circles, but about the power of orgasm.
Yeah.
And, to create and manifest, and like never want to waste an orgasm. But what I'm loving too about what you're saying is that, yes, of course, that's such a powerful portal, but there's also the singing and the dancing and the view and the savoring of the food and the beautiful perfume, right? There's so many different access points to that sensuality and sexuality. Not that we want to discount the sexuality, because I think it's really important to have our orgasms, whether by ourselves or with others. But all of those different ways in which you can like tap into that power is really great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important because, I mean, when a woman is turned off and she's not connected to these parts of herself, there's a very good chance that she's running her inner masculine really strong. Most entrepreneurial women do that, at least for the first chapters of their career as an entrepreneur, because that's what we've been taught. And what will eventually happen is the big burnout, because we're not meant to run our energy that way.
So talk about that more. So what is it? Because what does that mean to have what's your inner masculine turned on?
Okay.
And, yeah.
Okay. So all of us have, so energetics is like so much a part of what I do. I always have. This has been my world. And so each one of us has an inner masculine and an inner feminine, and they can be healthy or unhealthy. So an unhealthy masculine will be one that drives and pushes. It will be one that is focused on results versus the experience and the emotional experience along the way. It will be more me-centric versus more we-centric, which is the feminine. It will be, my goals are this, and I'll do anything to get these goals, versus being more integrated with the feminine is like, this is the goal, this is the outcome, and I'm going to allow myself to move inside of the space, learning as I go. There's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys, that we allow there to be more flow and rhythm to what it is that we're creating. And it's really like even changing our language. It's just like, what are your goals? Softly use those words. I'd rather know what you're creating. When you have a goal, it's just one thing. But when you're creating, you're like, oh, I'm creating this thing. What does that creation mean? It means that I'm going to be collaborating with other women. It means that I'm going to need to learn this new skill set or dive into something and like deeply explore it because I'm creating something. You feel that difference?
So different.
So the goal is always so linear. And it's the same thing when your inner feminine is out of balance too. I want to say this because I've worked with a lot of women who have had this imbalance where their inner feminine just wants to be in pleasure. She just wants to enjoy herself. And meanwhile, her healthy masculine is not holding the boundary, because the healthy masculine is the container. The inner masculine is not holding the standard, the boundary, the timeline. So it's one thing if you're like, okay, I'm not doing this today, I'm not in the mood. But it's another thing if you've kicked that can down the street 6 times. So a healthy masculine will go, okay, baby, take the day off. Don't do that today. But I want to know when you're going to do it. And I want you to hold yourself accountable there. So the healthy masculine, healthy feminine is a dialogue that we should be in every day.
Yeah.
Like the feminine wants to care. She wants to nurture. She wants to be in pleasure. She wants to be quantum. She just wants to be super, super centrally sensual, like she wants pleasure. But if we're entrepreneurs, we need to have a healthy masculine online. But the other piece about that too is learning how to do business in a different way. I can't tell you how. I mean, I went through this myself, but I've taken care of a ton of women. When I had my transformation and wellness center in California, hundreds of women came through burnout. Why? Adrenal burnout from running their masculine energy so hard. So life demanded that they learn how to do it differently. They had to learn how to do it in flow. They learned how to take breaks. They learned how to give themselves more rest. They learned that keeping their emotional state and physical state at top priority allowed everything else to flourish. And sometimes that's really hard if you feel like you're behind. Most entrepreneurs I know are chronically feeling behind. But you just have to be like, no, this is first. I create from a full cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I remember one year, well, I was kind of feeling that burnout, and I decided that for that year, I would do nothing unless it like rolled to my feet. Then I might pick it up. That felt good, but I had to I was like, I am not going to push at all. Like, it was so like, and some amazing things came in, right? I was just like, but I realized like the next year, it's like, okay, I do need to take some action, right? Like, just sitting there waiting for things to roll to your feet. Like it works to a certain extent, but only to a certain extent. And then the next year, it's like, okay, now I'm about inspired action, orgasmic results. So when they come, when it's like, then I take some action. But it's definitely a balance. It's a game you have to play and figure out how do you really, balance between taking the action and just being in flow and nurture.
The dance, right?
Yeah. It's the dance.
Can I share something really quick about that from the quantum perspective of what you just shared?
Yeah.
So the quantum field is made up of three wavelengths of energy. And so when people say, oh, the feminine is just like you attract it in, right? Like I magnetize it. And that's true. That's what we do. And we need to practice doing that. But the feeling state is the slowest wavelength of energy, but it carries the most information. So when you said it would just roll to your feet, I was like, I love that. And it rolled nice and slow, didn't it?
Well, it would just be there and I'd be like, oh my gosh. Like, I wanted to, it's like we have the thought, like, I would really love to work with this person. I'm thinking maybe I'll hire them. And then they called me to hire me. It'd be like things like that. It's like, oh, okay.
And then you were holding that, like perception is like, because it carries the most information, it carries emotion, it carries thoughts, it carries beliefs, right? Your perception is the slowest wavelength that carries all of it, but behavior is the fastest wavelength. So when you hold that, throw some behaviors in it, that's when you get results. And the third is structure, which is like the structure is always just the container or a timeline or something that has a beginning and end. So, but like that thing of like, sometimes it's taught and I'm always kind of like, no, that's not actually true. I mean, you can, but you're not going to be like just sitting there doing this and attracting everything that you want, because the field actually needs the behavior wavelengths to go through it.
Yeah. It didn't come like every day. There was something, like, a few of those over the year, but it was like really cool things, but it was still slow. You're right. Yeah. All right. Well, it's like real estate investing and entrepreneurship can bring up a lot of fear for women, especially around money and failure. So how could a woman use the spiritual alignment to ground themselves and to move forward with courage?
First of all, people think, we often get this idea in our heads that we're not going to be afraid and then we're going to do the thing. That's not how it works, right? What I say and what I do with my clients, and like particularly my live clients, is you've got to learn to walk with the fear. Like, hello, fear. I see you. I feel you. Wow, you're really big today. Okay, let's shrink you back down into a pea size so that I can actually work with you, right? But we're always going to be afraid. There's a threshold of energy where there's just enough fear and just enough excitement. That is the sweet spot to quantum expansion. So if you're not like really on that edge and amplifying that edge, you're missing out on some juicy opportunities. The other piece is we have to have a great relationship with two things. One is neutrality. Like, oh my God, this is really boring. I hate this part. Or like neutrality, because a lot of people will be like, yeah, but I was feeling so great. And then I feel like this. I'm like, yeah, but it's a threshold of energy that we all have to master. And a lot of us who are entrepreneurs and excited about everything, and we want to say yes to everything, we like the highs, woohoo, but that neutral zone is kind of like, it can feel like a dead zone. So that's one area. And the other one is fear. And so a great conversation to have with your girlfriends or your family or whatever. What'd you fail at today? What'd you fail at this week? What'd you learn? What emotions came up for you? What were you really afraid of? What was the story? That you were going to look foolish, that you were going to lose love, that you were going to feel like a fraud, that you were going to lose all your money. Like, what was the real fear? Sorry. What was the real feeling underneath that fear?
Yeah.
And then if you're really like, if you're in the holy wild paradigm, you just turn it on. I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid, like you use, right? I'm so afraid. I'm terrified. Right.
I'm partying with the fear. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like, even like, working with fear is so sacred, because if you could just like make a list of like your 10 greatest fears around your business, and then just start to like alchemize those fears, get turned on by those fears, seeing yourself flip it upside down on its head. I guarantee you, if you learn to really start to sit and feel everything that's coming up around, like, just if you can just go through the portal of fear, something develops on the other side that is so impenetrable. The level of confidence, the level of self-worth aligning that happens on the other side of moving through fear. It's a practice, but making your lists and identifying them first allows you to be like, you know what? You work with that for a week, a month. Sometimes it might take longer until there's no charge on it. When you're like, I'm ready, then you're ready. If you are paralyzed about something, if you know that you're so afraid to do something, but there's something so juicy on the other side, that's what you want to work with.
Yeah.
That is the sauce. That's where you want to put your attention.
I love this. So good. So good. All right. Well, we're getting near the end of our time. So we're going to do our famed end of show Trinity, which is a brag, a gratitude, and a desire. But before we do, how can people find out more about you and what you do and connect with you?
I thank you for that question. My website is drlizdobbins.com. And right now I'm getting ready to, like, right now I'm doing private coaching. I have a Friday, every other Friday, sisterhood circle called the Holy Wild Sisterhood. It is awesome. It is a very spiritual, turned on group of women. It's intimate group, deep sharing, vulnerability, expansion, quantum. It's super sexy. I love it. And then I'm getting ready to do an event in San Francisco in August. If you get on my mailing list really quickly, you can just email me. I'll send you an invite, but that's going out this week, and it's going to be a small group. And then I'll be posting a retreat soon. I've hosted a lot of retreats, a lot of groups. It's like magic.
Love it.
Yeah.
So good. So good. All right. Beautiful. drlizdobbins.com. We're out.
That's me.
Okay, so now it's time for our Trinity.
Okay.
Which I know you know very well, Sister Goddess. What's one thing you're celebrating right now? What's your brag?
Let's see. I brag that I just took an 8-day trip, and the day I got back, I was moved within 24 hours. Woo!
That's a lot of movement on the trip.
A lot of movement, sister. Oh my God. I brag I did. I brag I landed like a boss.
Amazing. So well bragged. And what's one thing you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for the epic beauty that is right outside my windows. It is intoxicating.
Beautiful digestion. And lastly, what's one desire you're holding right now?
I desire to get full legs on my one-woman show that I've been in and out of for the past couple of years. I desire to get it on stage. I desire to get it to Netflix. I just desire it to take off and influence the world in a positive way.
That is so hot. Well, so shall your desire be, or so much better than you can imagine.
Thank you, Goddess. What do you have?
Want me to do it, Trinity?
Okay. Yes.
You're like, heck yeah. Okay. So let's see. I brag my year of fun challenge. I brag this is day 292 consecutive days of fun.
Oh my God, I want to hear about that.
Amazing. And it's been so profoundly incredible. I've just fallen so deeply in love with my life. So I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for all of the incredible fun things and people and experiences. And there's just so much to love. And one desire I have, I'm desiring to host a retreat in Bali, and that's already like in the works, but I desire it just to be such a powerful, incredible, uplifting, transformational experience for all.
And so it shall be, or something even better.
Thank you. Oh, that was fun. So Liz, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your magic, your truth with us today. And thanks to you listeners for tuning in. Definitely subscribe, follow, so you don't miss another incredible conversation like this one. And also, if something sparked for you during this episode, don't ignore it, follow it. And I know that there's a woman who who needs to hear what we talked about today. This was such a powerful conversation. So please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if somebody shared this with you, thank them because they love you. And remember, what you want wants you. Let's get real, stay real, and become who we were meant to be. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.